Hey folks, my name is Jürgen, aka Nerd and Proud of It, and Destiny has brought you to my channel today because Jeff and myself will be revealing a card for Arturian Legends today. If you have not been to the channel yet, this is a small trading card game channel, and I like to talk about trading card games a lot. And I have with me today Jeff. Welcome, Jeff. You normally don't need any introduction because you are a legendary artist within the trading card game field. But yeah, maybe you can give us a little bit of oversight of your more than 30 years of experience in like a couple of sentences. But almost impossible, of course, with all the things you did. But would be nice.
Well, I thanks for that. But yeah, when I started out in gaming art, trading cards weren't a thing yet. And I had a couple of years involved in role-playing products before I was approached by Wizards and asked if I could get involved in this new project that they had. So I was involved with Magic right from the get-go. Alpha artist on that. Actually, I did 4 cards that they used to pitch the product to investors. So I had a couple that were done super early. So yeah, I was right in at the ground floor of card games. And once that one did what it did, every other game company that produced a card game, and there was everybody and their brother made one in the 90s. It was a very safe bet to go to an artist who was already doing cards. So
Of course.
So I got calls from lots of folks in the mid 90s. I had my finger in a lot of different games. Some which just barely made it out of the chute. Some had a couple of years of good runs and a number of different expansions. And the last almost 6 years, I've been working with Eric and his team and enjoying every minute of this card game more than I have in a long time.
Yeah, I can imagine because it definitely has that old nostalgic vibe and feel to it. And we talked about it briefly a little bit. You think so as well? You just told me. What do you think that vibe and feel? Yeah, where does that come from? Is it because of the theme? Is it because of the way they approach it with original art only? Or yeah, you have seen a lot of trading card games. I would like to hear your opinion about that.
It's a number of factors and the way that they come together. Like you mentioned, the old school approach. And even if an artist is working traditionally today, most of them are competing with a digital marketplace. So most of the artwork created today, even if it's traditional, a lot of it has a very digital, polished look about it. And in early conversations with Eric, he stressed that he liked the early look of the game. And in my mind, what made the game different back then is that there was a lot more originality to the way that art was created. There was a lot more individuality. I could look through a deck in the 90s and just reel off the names of the artists by looking at the images, not by looking at the names. Because I saw style emerging from everybody. It was impossible to not do that until the digital era started to approach, and they assumed a lot more control over the way a finished product started to look. It takes the individuality out of that, makes it more cohesive in a lot of ways, but it depends what you want in your product.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I have the same when I look at the old cards. I can sometimes from across the room tell you what card it is, and indeed, like you said, you can identify the artist by the illustrations, by the way they have painted, and I really like that, and it's very interesting that that Eric wanted to go for that vibe again, and I think he hit a nerve there with us old fans. You have done 20 cards for alpha and beta for sorcery. That's a crazy amount, and you've been working on those 20 cards for the last 6 years.
Since 2018 was the first card I did was Bone Rabble in December of 2018. So yeah, 6 years.
Okay, that's quite a while ago. I thought it all started a little later, but that's very interesting that they already were, yeah, working on it back in 2018. Crazy.
One of the reasons why
That brings me
had so many cards is that Eric would give me 3 to do, and I would do them and hand them in, and then he'd give me 3 more to do, and I would do those and hand those in, and then 2 months later he'd call me and give me 4 more. So I just kept racking them up as we went through time, and the game approached a more final product. But yeah, it was slow and it was a long time on the cooker. But I think that's why it's such a good game. I think that helped a lot.
Good things take time, right? That's how it goes. But it's funny that they actually made use of your productivity there and just came back and gave you more. Do you have a favorite card of the alpha and beta set personally?
That's an interesting question. The card that usually I keep about 10% of my art. Okay. So in this equation, it would work out that I would normally keep 2 of those paintings for myself out of that batch of 20. And that is pretty much how it worked out. But the card that I would have selected to keep in the studio would have been Mordred Druids. And apparently the reasons that I like it have come across to the fan base, because that is definitely a piece that a lot of people react to that art and just tell me how much they like that piece. But Eric decided that he wanted that to be part of his personal collection. And I did not turn that inquiry down. So you've seen Mordred Druids in the background in his office on some of his videos, I'm sure, because he picked that up from me early on. So the piece that I kept for myself was Blizzard. And that's hanging in the studio right now, 15 feet away from me. And then
it's a beautiful one
that I gave to my kids. So
okay,
are a few
that makes perfect sense, of course, to give those special pieces that are close to your heart to your kids. I can definitely imagine that's a nice thing to do. My personal favorite of alpha and beta would also be Blizzard, and I really like the colors of Sunken Treasure. That's a card that just pops out for me as well, and the Druids. But that's because of for my personal connection with antiquities, and you did the Druid there as well. So very, very nice one. But today we are revealing one of the cards for Arturian Legends, and you have already one card revealed for Arturian Legends, which is Camelot, which is our background here. 3 already? What did I miss?
Stonehenge was revealed last fall.
And, okay. But only the art or the card? Already.
That was only the art.
Yes. Okay.
But a few days ago at Gen Con, they also revealed Galahad.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet because I just returned from holiday and I haven't been up to date with anything.
Oh,
So
boy, you have enough to do.
yes, the only thing I did before we were able to chat is I opened the site and I watched that all the spoilers for Arthurian Legends and I didn't see Galahad in there. So
Okay.
forgive me for that one, but I have a good good reason and I'm happy we could find the time to make this work directly at the moment when I returned. But I will definitely look that up and put that up here on the screen as well because I'm very
Okay.
curious about that one. So they
That was
revealed Galahad.
too.
Oh, okay, you didn't know.
I did not know that was coming, but they used it in an animated advertisement, and I think that that's why it had to get revealed, because they wanted to show the ad, and there were a number of cards that got revealed because they were in the advertisement.
Okay, that makes sense, of course. Yeah, then there's a lot of catching up for me to do. And of course, I was focused on the card we will reveal today. How do we want to do this? Do you want to show something? Do you want to name the name and I put up the card then later in the editing? But yeah, I think I would leave it to the master himself to actually talk about it. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So this is my fourth reveal for Arthurian Legends, and it's a highly personal piece, which you'll understand after we discuss it a little bit. But yeah, I'm here today to talk about harassing ruffians.
Harassing ruffians.
Yeah, and you said something in one of our correspondences that you thought of somebody
Robin
from
Hood.
English folklore.
Yes, I thought of Robin Hood.
Well, that's exactly where my mind went when I was given this title to work with. Like, harassing ruffians, that sounds like Robin Hood's men.
Yes, I think they were referred to as ruffians in some of the older books, right?
I think that that's highly likely. They were referred to as outlaws, and they were not generally looked upon as savory characters.
No.
But I have a deep history with the story of Robin Hood, and in my last year, my senior year of undergraduate school, it was my senior project in my painting class.
All right.
So, what had
What
happened? What? Yeah.
just a quick question in between, in a senior project in your painting class, was Robin Hood himself or something related to Robin Hood?
2 illustrations from the story.
From the story, okay.
So I was working from Howard Pyle's retelling of Robin Hood, and in going through a written transcription of the storyline, there's all kinds of details and side stories that you might not be familiar with because of your exposure only to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start reading it, you find out all kinds of different little paths you can go down for new scenes. So I grew up in my teenage years as a gamer in the days before trading card games, and the days when in the days before the internet. So we're just talking about paper and pencils role-playing games. And
I'm gonna move aside here.
Circle of friends back then. Yeah. And a lot of these folks are still in my life today. They're still friends of mine. I, spend holidays with them. And we keep in touch about all kinds of things. Nearly 40 years later. But when it was time for me to do this project, I bookmarked couple of scenes that I wanted to cover in Robin Hood. We made costumes, and we went to a local wildlife refuge and spent a day shooting photography that I could use as reference for all these Robin Hood images. And shortly before Eric had asked me about doing Harassing Ruffians, I had moved the studio to a new location, and I had found all kinds of old material, some of which still had some life in it. And one of the things I found was a lot of old material from these Robin Hood shoots. So I had just sent them to an image developing shop to get new scans of some of these slides that I had shot back then. And then here comes Eric asking for Harassing Ruffians, and I'm like, I've already got it started. It's in the works already.
Nice.
So
sometimes the puzzle pieces just fall together, right?
It really did for this piece. It really felt that way.
And that's actually you sent me a couple of those pictures, and I will show them on the screen as well. But that's you in those pictures, or that are your friends?
No,
I think
shot all these pictures.
You shot them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are your buddies, and those are your buddies still today. Do you still play role-playing games with them today?
I don't. Only because of physical distance. They would probably be up for it if I ever wanted to come down for a weekend and throw a game at them. It's not out of the question.
You can do it digitally as well. I have 3 of those buddies I've been playing with since I was 12, so quite a while as well already. And we skipped a couple of years, but then during Corona, we revived the group digitally, and we're doing it every Friday night nowadays. Right. Just the 4 of us, and that brought us closer together than ever. But the same group as well. So I would say go for it. But the ruffians, so. You had those pieces, you had those photographs, and from those photographs, did you do sketches, of course, for your, how did you call it, like final exam or for in art school already?
Well, this is a scene that I didn't use back then.
Okay.
But I did send you an image that's of a painting titled "The Wounding of Little John."
I saw that one.
Was
yes,
like my big finale for that Robin Hood project.
You used that as a print already to because I saw it is numbered.
Yeah, that's been a big selling print of mine for my entire career.
I can understand. It looks fantastic, I have to say. And yeah,
it's a crazy big painting. Because painting really large was part of the normal thing back then. If you wanted to do book covers, you weren't doing them this big. You were doing them like really big and letting them crush all that detail down. So it was just jam-packed with all kinds of little things. But yeah, the Wounding of Little John was a real important piece for me, not only in getting through my painting class, but it was part of my portfolio when I went to my first Gen Con in 1987. And when I showed it to the art director at Dragon Magazine, they used it in an issue 3 months later.
Wow.
So it was really my whole beginning to getting involved in the gaming industry was that particular piece.
It got you recognized.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow. Okay.
But so when I started working on this piece, which is, like you said, it's not the normal procedure that I would go through to create a card, which is why I put this up here. Like, you might recognize this guy. Okay,
yes.
From the alpha set.
Yes.
As the little tiny sketch from Feldbog Frogman. And when I say little tiny, it's because it started off in my sketchbook right there. So it's generally done about the size of a card. These are beginning sketches of the healers. The
Miracle workers.
there you go. The beginning sketches of the miracle workers over here. These are some beginning sketches of the frogmen, and you can see I got to this one, and I put an arrow next to it, like this is the one I want to go with. So normally what I would do is I get that rough idea in my head, and then I blow it up to this size inside the working frame of the sorcery card, and I put tracing paper over this, and then I do that drawing.
Wow.
Okay. And then that's the drawing I send to Eric. And I say, this is what I want to do for Felbog Frogman. And he'll say yay or nay or change that guy or whatever. So,
and do you start out with the size of the card, just so you know it actually would fit and have an impact? Is it just because you're booking? Okay.
Because they're quick. I just got to see if I get the idea down and it grabs me. And if I don't get a composition that works out, I go to another one. And I didn't waste much time because they're only little tiny drawings.
I get it. But you didn't use that process for the ruffians?
No, I didn't, because I had a half a dozen photographs that had characters and scenes that I already knew this is the material I want to work from. So I sent you 2 photographs of my buddies hanging out in costume, all from that involved photo session that probably was probably in 86 that took place.
Like yesterday.
Yeah. So, and like 2 of those guys, the guy that appears in the middle of this one and in the far background of Little John, he was my best man at my wedding nearly, close to 40 years ago. And he was in the wedding party as well. Those guys are still 2 of my strong buddies today. We don't know. None of us can figure out what happened to this guy. He fell out of our circle of friends, and we can't track him down anywhere. But oh,
really?
So what I did to create this image and to create it in the right kind of card frame was that I used reference from a number of different photographs and composed it together so that I had a spread of figures that I liked, and I made a guy closer than he was in the reference photo and pushed a few of the other guys back so that I had a nice depth and a good arrangement of figures that would work on a card composition. So you see some of the little pieces in the photographs that they're not necessarily the way that this piece worked out, because this scene never really happened exactly like this. There were little bits and pieces of it that did. I took out what I could get to work, and I changed what didn't work. And I redid the drawing on top of those reference photographs, and I've sent you a shot of that as well. And that is what I submitted to Eric, and he gave me a go-ahead, and I started to paint. And immediately, in my mind, I have this connection to the Wounding of Little John. And I want to use that color scheme. I want to use the autumn colors and the softer tones instead of bright sunlight. So instead of fighting that, I just went with it, and I let it be kind of like a return to that scene. So that's why the autumn colors in this and the greens and the browns are picking up a lot of what was in Wounding of Little John, because I wanted to, as you said, kind of go full circle and come back to giving that photo session one more shining moment.
I think that's amazing. Something that is so important, was so important to you and for your career. so long ago, and now you are referencing exactly that. And I think using that same color scheme was almost, yeah, subconsciously necessary just to get that connection. Of course,
it would have
that's
been
up
really
to you.
hard to go anywhere else.
Yeah, but I think it fits very well. I like the warm colors for my idea. So the person, or the character you drew on the left there, if we look at the picture, that's Little John.
Um,
Or is it not connected to Robin Hood?
Like everybody had roles that day, and like
Okay, it was the roles. It was the roles that day, and it's not the same characters in the Arthurian Legends universe. It's just the ruffians, or is it? Is it because some people connect Robin Hood to King Arthur? They say King Richard the Lionheart lived in the same time period, and these kind of things. They say that a young King Arthur might even have met Robin Hood, and of course, it's all folklore. But there are different stories. But can we expect, yeah, that's of course a question you're not allowed to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can we expect like Robin Hood characters in Arthurian Legends? So are these part of the Robin Hood characters, or is it an entirely other character?
Well, as you suggested, if I knew the answer to that, I probably couldn't tell you.
That's diplomatic.
But I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know if there's going to be more references to Robin Hood. I heard harassing ruffians, and in my mind, it was Robin Hood. So
okay.
So I just, like I said, I went with it, and it brought me back to this project. But I don't know if we're going to see Maid Marian or the Sheriff of Nottingham or any of those guys come up into this. I don't know.
We'll see. For me, he has like a fighting stick, right? So for me, it looks like little staff. Indeed, that was the word I was looking for. So it looks a little like Little John, a bit like Little John.
Could have been,
and could be. And in the background, we have one character with a sword and a shield, and one with a bow. Why did you go for one with a sword and shield, and not another bow? Just out of interest, because it looks cooler. It's more interesting to do in the composition, because it's 3 different kinds of weapons. Or
if they had been all bowmen, it's a different type of combat. But because I chose to put 2 of these guys with hand-to-hand weapons, it involves a broader spectrum of combat possibilities. So I intentionally wanted it to be different.
That's not something like Eric might have suggested in the feedback he gave to you based on your first sketch, because the card itself, I can quickly have a look, but it basically says units attacked by harassing ruffians can't be defended. That means, like, normally if a unit in the game can defend or can be defended, other units can come to help. In this case, they can't. And for me, it looks like those guys are coming out of the forest. So thematically, and that's a big thing with sorcery as well, the art is always very thematic in my perspective, in my opinion. They come out of the forest, they attack, sneak attack, and then of course the unit they attack isn't able to call for help, and that works with the card for me as well. So yeah, I was interested if Eric might have suggested this, but you decided this for yourself.
Yeah, and
nice.
But I think you're right. If Eric had an issue with the weapons the guys had been using, that is exactly the kind of thing he would make a comment about.
Interesting.
You know, he's had me add the tiniest little details into cards because they have to reference that in a piece of text. So if he needed them to be all archers, he would have told me that, and I would have made those changes.
Interesting. That's exactly the thing I love about sorcery, that eye for detail. I think that's fantastic, and I think that adds a lot to that nostalgia and that feeling you get when you look at the art and play with the cards. It just fits. It just all fits. That's very cool. In these these paintings, you say you worked for 6 years on the 20 others, roughly. How long does it take you from the initial call from Eric, like, hey, I need a card from you, initial drawing for yourself, being happy with it, blowing it up, as you said, then sending it over as a sketch, getting feedback, and then start drawing and then finishing that painting? Roughly how long does that take you? Like months probably, but
well, the process on a given painting probably happens between 30 and 60 hours, but those 30 to 60 hours can be drawn out over a great period of time. It depends what else is going on. It depends on if I'm given a deadline. Like if I'm told, okay, I need 4 of those paintings by the end of September, then I'm going to put other stuff in my life aside to make sure that happens. But if I'm not given a deadline, then I'm going to let other things like shows and other assignments kind of come in and run alongside the sorcery work that I'm doing. So I'm working on sorcery stuff all the time, but how much of my week is devoted to it varies tremendously.
I get it. And in this particular case, do you have an idea when you actually started on the drawing, on the painting, and when you finished it? Like back.
I could probably find that information out for you, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
No, all good. I would.
It was a year and a half old already, so it's not fresh in my mind.
All right. Okay, I get it. Then I can understand why.
February 16th, 2023. That's when I finished it.
Yeah, then I can imagine it's difficult to think of how long you took to paint it exactly, but that's how early that process started. Okay, crazy.
Yeah,
I
was working on it in December of 22. I know that.
Wow.
Because that's when I got all the reference done by the outside image company. So
that's crazy.
I worked on it probably over 10 to 12 weeks, probably.
Okay, I get it. But still, that's crazy that you worked on it so early, because that means that those guys at Eric Curiosa are like planning way ahead, and that's such a good sign for the game. And that's, yeah, we knew that already, but these kind of things that only confirms it, and I think that's fantastic, and that gives me such confidence, not only because I love the art, I love the vibe, the game is very good, but also the production side and yeah, the organization behind it is planning ahead, and I think that's fantastic.
And I can tell you that it's not the oldest Arthurian legend card that I did. So there were others that I've been working on before then.
How many can we expect? 20 cards again from you in Arthurian Legends?
No, because
without naming names. No,
that's not big.
It's 250, 230 and 20 extra pieces of art. I read, I think, like 250 different pieces of art. So that's a little more than half of the alpha beta. Mm-hmm. But does that mean like you painted around 10?
Well, the proportion that I did, the percentage is very similar.
Okay, I get it. Interesting. Yeah, then I got a rough idea. Yeah. So we can expect a couple of more releases from you, which is very interesting. But I'm very happy with this one already, because I think personally it looks very cool. The color scheme you mentioned appeals to me a lot. I am very happy we can discuss where the card comes from, where the inspiration comes from. It's definitely one of my highlights when it comes to Arthurian Legends already. So looks fantastic. Happy to reveal this together with you.
I can't wait to see the card.
You can't wait to see the card. Have you received anything yet? Have you received like the artist proofs already, or because I saw the boxes have been printed. I saw boxes being present at Gen Con.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they would not put the artist proofs in our hands until after the game comes out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
because it's a lot easier for them to not have to worry about them slipping out early. So I wouldn't send them out if I was them.
No, it reduces a risk of spoilers immensely, of course. And I mean, the artists have seen the card, obviously, as they painted it, and then the actual card can wait a couple of months, I guess. The reveal or the release will be in October, similar to Spiel in Essen. I think you mentioned you won't be able to be there, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to be at Essen this year.
That's a shame.
It could happen in the future, but it's not going to happen this year.
You've been before, right?
I have not.
No, you have not been to Essen. Okay, no, okay. It's a very nice show, and a lot of American friends are coming over. So, but does it fall in the time you still travel, October? Because I think you mentioned like in winter you don't travel at all.
Yeah, that tends to be the case. For personal reasons, and I live in a very snowy climate, so we have a lot of very unpredictable weather. So instead of having to cancel half of my arrangements, it's easier to just stay home and do studio work for a couple of months.
I can imagine.
I do tour a lot, but not in the winter.
No, makes perfect sense.
October's still open.
October's still open. Yeah, maybe we can ask Eric to convince you to come over. That would be very nice. Do you currently work on any sorcery stuff? Because I imagine everything Arthurian Legends has been finished quite a while ago. The production has been done. They are planning ahead very much. I know you can't name names or anything, but in general, I imagine you said you are working on sorcery constantly. So it just goes on and on.
It's been a wonderful process, and yes, it's almost continuously in my feed of work. So
fantastic.
Yeah, there's more coming.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I was really amazed by Camelot. I got it in the background here as well. I will put it up, the card itself too. I think those sites definitely profit from your depth work. You already put that in there with the characters here, with the ruffians, like you said, you put it from. Is that a thing for your paintings in general you pay a lot of attention to, or does that come naturally? Because I think the bridge and the knights,
it is a hugely important part of what I try and get across in my painting, because I think that the more you can do to achieve depth in a painting, the more you can introduce a alternate reality to somebody who's viewing it. It becomes so much more convincing if it seems like something you can go into. So without depth and a flat, and I don't mean flat like the surface, I just mean a piece that lacks depth, lacks that magical imagination that makes art something extra.
No, makes perfect sense. I'm glad I asked the question because I was really curious to know.
No,
And it's interesting that you have that feeling you need to add that to, and I think it comes across in all your pieces, and that's amazing. That's really on purpose. That's
oh,
really conscious
absolutely.
choice. Nice, very
Yeah.
cool.
It is something I strive to achieve in every one of my pieces for sure.
Very nice, very cool. Did we forget anything about the ruffians you still wanted to mention? Because I think, yeah, we've been talking about it for a nice 40 minutes, which is time flies when you're having fun. At least I am definitely having fun talking about it. I hope you have as well. Um, did we
Um,
forget anything you wanted to mention?
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it affects gameplay, and
Yeah,
I think one interesting thing about composing in the shape of a card for sorcery is that the whole piece has to work, the whole vertical piece, but the card area is really only a square in the upper quadrant.
yeah.
So it almost has to work in two different shapes. That square really has to work, but the rest of the painting has to work as well. And I'm super pleased with, even though it's just leaves and rocks, I love the way the bottom of this painting looks.
Now,
So,
honestly, I'm really looking forward to the foil version of this card if they keep the foil versions the same as in alpha and beta, because if you turn them around, you got the full piece. And I
right.
think, like you said, this one, this would work perfectly. I'm really looking forward to that one, and I can totally agree. And it's funny that you mentioned that you want to see how it impacts gameplay. Do you play yourself?
I well because I've been a gamer,
Yeah.
I certainly can appreciate the mechanics of every good game. I'm superficially aware of how sorcery works. I did do some I don't know what introductory sessions at the spring social in Baltimore. When
Hmm.
I was down there, I had me and Drew Tucker sat down and played each other.
Very cool. I would have liked to see
And
that.
we both had a coach, so they walked us through the mechanics of the process. And if there had been more time, I certainly would have stayed to do more of that. So
Very
maybe
nice.
maybe upcoming at SorceryCon, I'll hit that table again.
Uh, I think you should. It's a good game, and I think even if you got, like you say, superficial knowledge of the game, it already might add to your creative process because you roughly know what they mean by certain things. Uh, yeah.
We're not given the information about how the card functions.
Oh, you're not.
No,
Okay. You only see that once the spoiler of the card appears
that's
itself, or
correct.
once you get the card. Okay.
Right.
And that doesn't come up in the conversation at all, like the functionality of the card or anything?
Well, occasionally in the assignment, Eric might explain that the card needs to do this, so he needs that pictured.
I get
That
it.
that might happen, or he might say, "I like this sketch, but it doesn't do what I needed to do in the game. I need this element to happen because of the mechanics of the card." And so sometimes that can change it, but it's generally not part of the assignment.
Okay, I get it. But still, if it's necessary, it comes up. Otherwise, it's not part of the assignment.
Right, right.
Interesting. All right. Jeff, I won't keep you any longer. I got one, two short things I would like to address, but thanks a lot. I definitely wanna say that before we start rounding up the video. Thanks a lot for joining me today, and it was a real pleasure to reveal one of your cards. Been a long time fan of your artwork. I really love what you do, and for me, that was definitely a highlight. Um, One of the things we quickly talked about to share that love for your art is that we might be able to give away a couple of prints for the viewers. Is that possible? Would that be okay that you sign those?
Yeah.
Do we? Yeah. Do we want to do a giveaway of 3 prints just for people who comment and let us know why they love the Ruffians so much and what they love about your art? We'll make it really easy, and just have people participate in that in
I'm
a
totally
nice.
down for it. Yeah.
That would be awesome. So everybody.
Stuff. I haven't done any of this, but I will bring some with me when I go to Europe in a week and a half, and I'm sure that we'll cross paths.
Yes, I have planned to drive down to Germany. I just came back, but I'm gonna make it happen. We have to chat a little bit about that after the recording. But if you could bring a few of those, that would be fantastic, of course. So, folks, that would be awesome. Thanks. Leave a comment. What you think about the Ruffians, and I will spin a digital wheel with everybody who leaves a comment. So very easy, and then you have a chance to win one of those signed prints of the Ruffians, so you can enjoy the artwork yourself. Yeah, Jeff, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Stay healthy. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for joining. I always say, stay healthy, stay frosty, and until next time, which will probably be in a couple of weeks in Germany, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jeff, and bye, everyone.